All right. So another episode of Faith in Home Buying. Thank you so much for joining. I'm loving equipping people of faith for the home buying process. And, it spills over to everybody else that even though that doesn't have faith. And that's the beauty about it, right? So
Mhm.
today, I love bringing on my guests, especially to have really great stories. And just to say a quick hello, Kashina and Jeremy. They just got their home brand new at that, and we're going to dive into the very things that they had to go through and had to muscle through, and giving God the glory in the end. So, can you say hi to everybody?
Hey.
Hello.
And I'm so glad that you guys were able to take a little time out today just to talk about your recent experience. And good God, it was about a 9-month journey
Yeah.
at that. And I usually start off kind of my segments about kind of scripture, or just kind of reading a scripture, or just kind of where their basis is off of. And the theme so far, especially in these last couple of weeks, has been patience. And and just the fruit of the spirit. And I think people forget that, as we go through life, remember, God can use any situation, any circumstance, in order to produce fruit in us, fruit that will last. And speaking of fruit, I just want to make sure, we kind of preface this whole conversation in talking about Galatians 5:22 at that, when it talked about the fruit of the spirit, and talking about the works of the flesh. But when he gets down to verse 22, by contrast, the fruit of the spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, generosity, and faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. There is no law against such things, and those who belong in Christ Jesus have crucified the flesh with its passions and desires. If we live by the Spirit, let us also be guided by the Spirit. Let us not become conceited, competing against one another, envying one another. And ultimately, the biggest part on this that I want to kind of talk about, because I think it's so just it's so practiced and walked out beautifully by you both, is that one part right there with patience, and how that really played a huge role. And I told you I was going to read the definition of patience, the biblical version, and let me just start that, and then I'm going to let you take it from there. All right, so the biblical definition of patience: the quality or virtue of patience is presented as either forbearance or endurance. In the former sense, it's a quality of self-restraint, or of not giving away to anger, even in the face of provocation. It is attributed to both God and man, and is closely related to mercy and compassion. Now, would you say that your journey kind of had to deal a little bit with that definition? Did you have to experience that?
Yes, there was a whole lot of patience involved with our whole process, patience and faith. So, not just for us, but also our kids.
Yeah.
We have a 2-year-old and a 5-year-old, and
The most
they were
adorable little ones ever. I'm sorry, I'm partial.
they are cute, yes. But yeah, they were super anxious. Kids are resilient, of course, but they were super patient through the whole process. Of course, it's exciting. It's kind of anxiety inducing, but the patience, it definitely taught us that there is a, a reward from being that patient and being that faithful. So if you want to be stretched, buy a house. But yeah,
well, well, let's talk about that. So in buying a house, talk about why this became even something that you guys wanted to do. Because I know it was a whole 9-month process, but I know that you did do faith and home buying a little bit, and the faith was kind of getting there. When you reached out to me, you still were unsure, like, well, we know kind of where we want to be, but unsure about the whole process. So talk about that, because believe me, there's it's in the details, even in your situation, on how things happened and how it even sets you up and later. Like God was doing things in the background and even setting you up and you didn't even know it.
Yeah, yeah. And so, and I don't think I even spoke to you about this before, but years ago, when the SF Vive campus just opened, I actually prayed about it,
Mm-hmm.
that we'd be homeowners.
Mm-hmm.
And so, it's always been on the back of my mind. And our friends, they actually just moved to Brentwood last December. And so, of course, we were renting in South City. We've always been Peninsula, South City, South Bay people.
Mm-hmm.
And so, his best friend, the ones that moved to Brentwood, they were the ones that were kind of just planting that seed in him. And of course, he brought it up to me, and I was like, no, I don't want to leave. I don't want to leave the peninsula. I like it here. The weather's good. My job is here. And so finally, I think it was like 2 weeks of him just constantly, hey.
It was a lot of Zillow, a lot of
I know, hey, look
realtor
at this
apps,
house.
and just looking at pictures and then looking at friends' pictures. It was like all of it at once came, and we're like, I just kept asking, it's like, hey, let's just go to open house. What are we doing this weekend? Let's just look, just for fun. And that first open house, mind you, wasn't one that we wanted, but just from the looks of a brand new house and all the way it was set up, and it was like, I wonder if this is something we actually could do. And that's why we reached out, and here we are.
No, husbands do play a good role, husband and wife, because I could tell you there was a couple of things. Because husband, he doesn't really push me on anything too much, really. But when it's something that he's like, no, I'm not gonna let this one go. Like there is something there. So good job, husband.
Yeah, so finally I gave in, and that's when I reached out to you, because I was like, I don't know I don't know what to do next. And because of COVID, of course, you can't just show up. And so I'm thankful I reached out to you, because you were able to get the ball rolling. And I was still unsure. That first weekend that we went to go look at houses, I didn't even know where we wanted to be. Everything was just kind of up in the air. But once we were able to see houses at the price point that we could afford, that's basically the same as our rent in South San Francisco.
Yep.
I was like, okay, well, we can do this. We can definitely do this. And so, yeah, that was the beginning.
Yeah, that started it. And so, and what people don't know, I mean, we went to a couple of new construction, you were on a, truth be told, you guys, like this whole process is probably almost a year. But getting signed up on a list, new construction in the heart of COVID, and they were backlogged big time. And so not hearing anything, patience happens. And I think this is good to let people know, like, you may think one direction is happening, but if you really ask, okay, God, if this door isn't opening, I'm about to walk through another door. If this is not supposed to be, please close and shut this door. If not, we'll continue on the path that we were going, because time was starting to happen. But I think once you made that move, like when we were on that wait list for, it was in Oakley, and then you actually ended up seeing one that I knew that didn't even have a wait list. It was nowhere on the market. It was just all dirt up there. And when I showed you that, being able to have vision too, not only for, just, your life and, what God has for you, but having vision and not even seeing a model. Talk about that, the faith to say, you know what, I'm going to go in this direction, even though there's not a model on the home.
Yeah, that was a huge faith step for both of us. We fell in love with this house in Oakley, and the doors weren't opening for us the way we wanted it to. The wait list was crazy. put ourselves on the wait list, and we waited like 3 months.
Mhm.
And within that 3 months, our landlord was like, hey, I want to sell the house. And so, of course, everything became urgent.
Yep.
And so, of course, you knew exactly the house that we wanted and what we're looking for, what we wanted for our family. And then you found this house in Antioch. And of course, originally we didn't want to live in Antioch.
Mhm.
And then, huge faith stuff. We're like, okay, we trust you.
Mhm.
And then, bare bones. It was, I think, just the foundation was up.
There was barely anything there.
It was barely anything in the models. And yeah, we kind of just went for it. And it was, the doors opened. It was quick. It was fast.
Mhm.
And I think it was Valentine's Day. We got pre-approved, and then the next week is when they let us know that we can sign a contract. And they have a lot for us. Mhm.
Right. And there's something to that too, even the whole process, right? When one door closes, another one opens. Actually, multiple ones ended up opening. And even for the financing, right? Because some people think, okay, we have to go together, there's certain things that are going to happen. But for you, God even set it up so that the financing aspect, because we're ending this segment, but what I want to talk about the top of the next segment is how the orchestration of things, and you thinking that, oh well, this is just going to be a mark against us, and in all actuality it was the best thing, because God was setting you up for what was about to happen next, the very things that we had no clue were about to happen. And that's really what I really want to get into the gist of. Like every bad thing, quote bad thing, that could happen to you guys. And we're going to talk on the next segment about that very thing and how you bounce back, and how right now you're holding keys to a beautiful 5-bedroom, 3.5 bath, home that has gained tremendous amount in equity since the 9 months that you even signed the contract. So when we come back, everyone just stay tuned, because it really is a story. And I'm telling you, you're going to be blessed. Tamika Ellsworth, Faith in Home Buying, equipping people of faith for the home buying process. All right, so back with the second half of our story. So I'm just going to dive into it. So yes, you getting approved even just for the new construction, great price, by the way. Even something happened there. And so talk about that pre-approval process, and just even the insecurities going through that process, or what could actually happen.
Yeah. So, with pre-approval, of course, being newbies to this whole thing, we're just like, what do we do? Of course, we with any home buying process, now we know this, that you have to get pre-approved, so you at least know where you're at. So we both, we were going into this together. It turned out that actually it would have been better to get pre-approved just under myself. And so we kind of just went with it. And it actually worked out for us in the long run. It was kind of weird just kind of having me go through the loan process, but I mean, as you know, it worked out later on.
Exactly. With a married couple, and this is another thing to kind of think about too. You think that it has to look a certain way, but in all actuality, no, it doesn't. And matter of fact, it's probably beneficial that it is one. Me and my husband, the very same thing. We have our stuff structured. And I had told you that, like when you said, "Oh, Tamika, we couldn't get him on," I said, "That's okay." I said, because husband and I, we have it structured in a particular way for our household, just in case something ends up happening, like a job loss happens, and you're able to bounce back. So talk about that, because again, you got to pre-approve. Excellent, Tamika, we're good to go. And what ended up happening after that pre-approval process, probably like a month or so into 2 months into that process?
So yeah, we, of course, we got pre-approved going into it, and signed the contract. Everything's going great. And then I think May comes along, and my wonderful husband got laid off. And yeah. And of course, that's like one of the worst things that can happen to you when you're
during this process, while you're waiting for your house to be built.
Yes.
Moved out.
I also learned, With that said, don't text your significant other that you got laid off and then not answer for a couple hours.
He texted me.
So
He texted me that he got laid off. And I was
Just add on.
like, what? What? Are you joking? No answer. 3 hours. No answer.
Yep.
It was fun. It was a fun
Yeah.
day.
Well, and then I remember I got the text, and just immediately I'm just thinking like, it's okay. You know why it's okay? Because of why? Because you were only approved on your income anyway. Although he had it, the price point was good enough so that, and thank God, with the job that you had was good enough at the price point that they only needed to have you on it. He would be later on added on title. So for you married couples listening, you know, and thinking that, well, what if? Well, yeah, what if? This is a situation where it did happen. He did get, you know, laid off, but you know, just a spoiler alert. He now has the job back at the same company in a different position, better hours, over people now as a supervisor, and just killing it. So, anyways, it's just a side note. I mean, God worked that out. He took things that were supposed to even be meant to destroy you or either just stop you with this process and turn that thing completely around. So thank you, Lord. So once that happened, so that's not, this is only one thing. So what ended up happening even after that? So job loss happened. One. What was the second thing that happened?
So after that, we were home stretch, final approval. You know, we got our conditional approval. This is like literally the last thing before we get clear to close. And so I get an alert on my email and I was like, what is this? And I figured they were probably running my credit again. So I was like, oh, I looked at it. I got sent to collections. I got sent to collections for a hospital bill from 2 years ago that they never even called me for. I would have paid it had I known, but here I am in this situation and they're going to run our credit, I think 3 days later for final approval. And I'm like,
Tamika,
all right, well, like, okay, God, we need a miracle here. And, you know, he came through.
Yeah, it actually ended up happening where it wasn't anything that affected it. They were able to work it out with the lender, you know, position, and as if it didn't happen. Go figure.
Yeah, it was honestly, it's looking back, it still blows my mind because it's like it showed up, but it did not affect anything. We still got the final approval. We were still good to go. And it just, you know, that was the one that was like, yeah, job loss, but you know, it was okay. But this one affected me because I'm the one with the loan. But you know,
exactly. But it all worked itself out. And when we talk about miracles, little small things like this, for instance, and if you know, anything with collections that can set you back a lot and set you back as a like not getting it home, like not qualifying for a loan or the APR being completely different than what you're in at because of this, or an exception needing to be made, whatever the case may be. It could blow up the whole deal. And we're already 4 months into this thing, and then having something blow up like that would have been catastrophic. But God. And let's talk about that, right? So in the midst of this, you know, whether it be Jeremy too, just talk about how God worked things through you in this process, because obviously it's fear coming along. It's you know, even there was this situation that had happened with your family on just health issues coming along. I mean, that got pounded on there, you know, becoming at the end, you know, becoming homeless for a little bit, you know, being thrown in on the mix. Tell me, even with the rest of that situation happening, what was worked through you through this process that you can just thank God for?
Yeah. You know, throughout our marriage, God's always been faithful. Like we've been blessed like crazy within our marriage. And it just, things happen and it's like, how? You know, and this was another one of those things. It was on a whole nother level though. You know, our faith, I think, and I think you can agree to this too, because we're still speechless. But, our faith has been completely stretched, and, we've been immensely blessed. Like, I still can't wrap my head around it. You know what I mean? It's been hard. There's been a lot of prayer. And it's like, and I even got to a point, I think it was like when I got sent to collections, I was like, all right, God, you brought us here to this point. I know you are not going to leave us here. Like, this is not where you're going to leave us. And he didn't, and he didn't. So it's been hard.
What about you, Jeremy?
Well, I mean, honestly, it's with it being, I guess, a lot of it with the whole loan, everything on her shoulders. It was like, I think a lot of it has to do with reassuring her, because I mean, essentially, it's like she was like, losing faith in terms like, are we supposed to have this house? Like, are we supposed to like be here? Like, are we even supposed to be moving? Like, even when it came down to like even having the lot, like the first lot we looked at, it was we didn't even want the lot, and next surprise, here's another one that you do like. I'm like, how'd you know we like this? And next we get the one we like. And
That's
now,
right.
just as we go through, like, we still have to write down our full on how all this went through and how it happened. It's just like, it's crazy to think like everything that went down, and, a lot of the feelings, mostly her side, essentially is I had to be there to kind of reassure, like, if this is supposed to happen, it will. I mean, we did everything we can, and there's really nothing else we could do, like physically and mentally, but essentially just be there spiritually, just to let us know, like, if this is supposed to happen, it will. And now that it's done and all said and done with, like, I'll sit down on the couch, look at the ceiling, and like, I guess this is where we are supposed to be. And, being a San Francisco native, I definitely did not think I was going to ever leave there. And, as I start migrating out to like Daly City, to Colma, to like South City, it's like, all right, well, I mean, maybe I'm not supposed to be here the rest of my life, but, never know what might happen down the line. But even if then, I mean, it led us to where we're at now with the home, beautiful kids, beautiful wife, and now it's just unpacking, which is the stressful part.
Oh no, that's stress.
That's
right.
Let's just say I got my workout in for the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, that's right, up and down those steps. Y'all don't know. Like this house is, I mean, if you ever get a chance to visit Kashina and Jeremy once their boxes are done, I'm telling you, from the kitchen to the rooms, I mean, it's just to the community. I am super proud of you both for staying in there. And there's so much more to this story. And I'm hoping that, there's a link at least to, I'm going to probably put it like just a link to your Facebook story where you go into even more detail. And I'm sure, honestly, you're completely open on if you wanted to reach out to either one of them and just to explain more in detail, because, we only have 30 minutes, but I'm just telling you, there's so many other small details that happened. And as they were going through, they walked through it all with their heads held high, probably, like the duck on the water, the legs flapping, but on the top being calm, cool, and collected. But what I saw, just as an agent, like, and just even as a friend, stuff like this, it tests your character, and it tests your relationship and your marriage. And you guys pass with flying colors. Of course, things happen in sin, but you guys pass with flying colors. And that's what I'm most proud of you about. And I know God has seen that and seen your walk. So, well, we're done with our interview. Again, thank you so much. And thank you, listeners. Remember, you can catch me at 408-561-7922, TamikaEllsworth.com. We're equipping people of faith for the home buying process. Thank you.